So the present here and now, apparent here and now, santitiko, akaliko, timeless, ehipassiko, investigate, or wake up and see, leading inwards, to be experienced individually. So when you chant this every day, there's santitiko, akaliko, ehipassiko, Vajjatang Vetidappo Vinyuhi, is a good reminder of what Dhamma. Even though we call it the teaching of the Buddha, and the Buddha was actually, what we call the teaching is really convention pointing to apparent here and now, timeless, encouraging investigation, leading inward to be experienced individually. And then the supatipanno, ujupatipanno, yaya patipanno, samiji patipanno, to practice in the sense of practicing according to Dhamma, mindfulness, letting go of the fetters. So before this retreat began, I went over to the retreat center office to consult with the managers about this retreat, and Jandi had this deck of cards from the Tao Te Ching, and so she wanted me to choose one of these cards. Held out this deck of cards, and I chose one, and this is what I picked out of that whole deck. And this is quite a good reflection, and it says, all things appear as they truly are to those who are not blinded by their own self-interests. So the self-interest, this Sakaya Ditti, practicing in order to become, this is to be, this is the delusion, this is the fetter that binds us to birth and death. That's not to destroy, but to recognize the self, in the sense of me and mine self, in whatever you're doing, not as some kind of guilty, critical way of experiencing life, but to recognize that which is aware of the ego, of this self-view, is not self. And by this continuous kind of determined remembering this, then you begin to, this abide in this sense of awareness rather than operate from the delusion of the Sakaya Ditti all the time. So this attitude of letting go, of relinquishing, is these kind of words I find more helpful than attaining and achieving. We're from very kind of goal-oriented societies, conditioned to from the Sakyaditi level to always try to get something, become better, get rid of faults, self-improvement practices, and this a sense of something, I'm not good enough the way I am, I've got to do something in order to become. And so I keep mentioning this because it's the basic problem. Even with meditation, one can approach Buddhist meditation with this basic motivation. I'm somebody who needs to do something in order to become. And that's why I put it into these repetitive words, because then encouraging you to be aware that this is a creation. It's words, isn't it? It's the sense of I am this person, this body, this person, and I need to do something in order to become better or enlightened or whatever your aspirations might be. And it's not that it's wrong, but it's a fetter. So if we never challenge it and see it, then we could spend the rest of our lives, or probably previous lives, operating from this delusion. And it is a challenge because, our whole world is based on the sense that I am this person, this body. So it's a very strong, powerful conditioning, and of course the society reinforces it. They're living in a society where this attitude is considered normal. This is right. I am this body. I am this person. And that's why this reflectiveness it's not denying this, in terms of convention it is true. So, conventional reality, fair enough. It's a workable convention, but in ultimate reality, it's not. It's a creation, and then attachment to this is the cause of suffering. So then, in getting back to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, these are conventions also, but they're not about me becoming a Buddha, me being the Sangha, practicing the Dhamma. It's not. That's not the point of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. But these are skillful means to remind us that Buddho, awakened consciousness in the present. Dhammo, when there's Buddho, then there's Dhammo, there's the truth, reality, like in this, all things appear as they truly are to those who are not blinded by their own self-interest. So you see, there's knowing of Dhamma, things as they truly are. And then Sangho, Supatipanno, practicing, putting into practice in daily life, awareness, mindfulness, reflection. In Thailand, Ajahn Chah he's always scolding the people, the lay people, tradition, because it's a traditional Buddhist society, Theravada, 95% or so of Thai people consider themselves Theravada Buddhists. There's a strong cultural identity. But then in the conventional form, they think the Buddha is a Buddha rupa, Buddha image. So bowing to the Buddha means you're bowing to this image. And the Dhamma is, in temples in Thailand, they have the Tripitaka in bookcases. So you have in a temple, the scriptures nicely bound in a ornate gilded bookcase. Bow to the Dhamma, so you bow to the bookcase, and then bow to the Sangha, the Buddhist monk. So Ajahn Chah would kind of make fun of this, because these are just the symbols, the icons. When we always project onto objects powers and qualities, and without knowing what we're doing, then it becomes, kind of superstition, or it's still Sakya Ditti, Silapata Paramasa. So there's nothing wrong, like not bowing to the Buddha Rupa, to the Tripitaka, and to the Bhikkhu. There's not. That's part of the tradition, but the tradition itself is not. It's a expedient means for reflecting, reminding, remembering. So this kind of, seeing this, reflecting, observing, this way of questioning, inquiring, investigating. These are the things I've always, this is encouraged in Theravada Buddhism, in this practice. It's to be, because it's Bajjatang, Waitirapo Winui, you have to find out, not grasping the Buddhist conventions, but it's using the conventions for reminding. Now this is an encouragement to not despise the religious conventions, but to how to use them, so they aren't becoming superstitions, or we're binding ourselves to more conditions blindly without awareness. So that it's not about converting to Buddhism, but using this convention for awakened attention, for investigation. And this, all religious conventions, they're not ends in themselves. They are conventions, and how to use them, how we use these conventions, skillfully or unskillfully. So Buddha Rupa, Buddha image, is made for, say, it's a human form in a state of attention, awareness, calm. It's not like the three monkeys, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. The three monkeys, with their hands covering their eyes, hands plugging up their ears. And then the third one is the hand covering the mouth. And so that's not a Buddha Rupa. You notice Buddha Rupas are, their eyes are open, and they're present here and now. That's an iconic form that a kind of sculpture that has never evolved in European aesthetics. For some reason, that's never, in European sculpture, never developed an image, a human form in a state of attention and awareness, enlightened, a human being fully present. At least not to my knowledge. So, then this, of course, this is developed in Asia. It wasn't; they didn't have them at the time of the Buddha, but they developed supposedly from Alexander the Great, the Greece. Because the original Buddha images looked like Greeks. But it's also a powerful representation, a visual sight, because if you live with Buddha rupas, Buddha images, they're very peaceful figures. Now you go to garden centers and they have Buddha rupas, to put in your garden, where in England it used to be gnomes, which are funny little creatures. And now it's increasing more Buddha rupas. So how do these, it's a reminder. So living with Buddha rupas, I quite like them because they're peaceful images. They when you see them and contemplate them, they don't arouse passions and I mean, if you're very aesthetic, critical of whether on the aesthetic, then you can say, oh, that's a beautiful, and that's an ugly one. But even the unbeautiful ones are trying to convey this, so you're not a matter of them being, perfect aesthetic forms, but whatever their purpose is, reminding. Buddho, Dhammo, Sangho. Then we can look at the Tripitaka as the word of the Buddha, and so many, when we interpret scriptural, like, translated into English, and then we have very strong opinions about interpretation, translation. A lot of this can come out of Sakya Ditti, scholastic pride, and so forth. So that this is, a use of the scripture. Because I've seen Buddhist monks support their own views by quoting scripture. And so this is, I'm right because the scripture says, and then they find a convenient quote that they feel supports that particular viewpoint. But this, it remains still, in the form of I know and I'm the authority, or the Supatipanno is one who practices in the right way. And what does that mean? It's through reflecting, seeing the anicca dukkha anatta, seeing the suffering that one is experiencing here and now through Sakya Ditti, through holding, grasping views and opinions. So this always points back at the citta. When they use this word citta, it's a Pali word. In Thailand it's usually like the heart. So in the Chah would always say, "What know what's in your heart, or observe your citta." It also means consciousness or mind. So, we say, watch your mind, observe, be the Bhutto, knowing the Dhamma, rather than this person trying to get something you don't have or get rid of what you have. So in English, citta can be translated as heart or mind or consciousness, but it's quibbling about translation and words, where get to the real thing. Taste the honey. Don't argue about whether this honey or that honey, according to views about which is the best. The point is to taste. Then you know. So supatipanno is being this Bhutto, being this awakeneth itself, and not this person who's ignorant trying to become awake and become mindful. So, encouragement, whatever you think you are, and whether you practice well or you're a good meditator or not, or whatever you're thinking, or how you regard yourself as a person, or your ability to practice, or ability to do anything, or not do things, all the identities, don't believe any of them. And so this is a kind of relief, not to not feel that you are what you think. And so, we do believe our thoughts as the truth. So you see people suffering because they believe the thoughts. And unquestionably, we believe, I am this body, I am this old body, this man, this woman, I am this, attractive or unattractive, I am Asian or European, black or white. We believe these are, what we really are. And the world affirms that. So you can't depend on the society you live in to, they'll keep reaffirming these delusions. So this is where the trust, this awakened Bhutto, mindfulness here and now, this listening, the knower of what you think. So whatever you're thinking, it's not a matter of stopping thinking and try to you could have a lobotomy or something. But that's not the answer. So, it's just learning to this sense of trust, and so in this aparuta de sangamatasa ye sodavanta bamunchantu satang. The gates to the deathless are open. It's a proclamation, announcement. Ye sodavanta bamunchantu satang. It says, trust this is here and now. Those who hear, sodavantas, who can hear this, let go of everything, surrender to just this moment, this aware, alert, conscious moment, the gate to the deathless. So then, since this is, if you have your chanting books available, and it's part of the custom, could we turn up the lights? It's on page 33, because these past 12 days, under the precepts and the practice, then all the goodness, the benefits, not for ourselves, but we share it with all sentient beings. So this is one of the most beautiful kind of Buddhist prayers, really. So it's in Pali on page 32, but we'll chant the English version on page 33. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and no harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every time of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is the noble Lord. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled. Ajahn Sumedho Bhagavan Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivadi Suvakkhatu Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sangha